Hi everyone, I'm Xuan, Zhao, CEO and co-founder of Flourish Science. I got my PhD training in social psychology at Brown and then did my postdoc at Chicago Booth. I was working at Stanford since 2022 and then decided to quit my job to focus on Flourish full-time last winter. So today I want to talk about how to design AI companions for human well-being. And this is a topic that's relevant to all of us in this room because many of you might have heard that we are in a mental health crisis. Kids are struggling. Teenagers, young people are struggling. College students are struggling. Grad students are struggling. Faculty and staff are struggling. Healthcare providers themselves are struggling. And who here have young children? Raise your hand. Recently, it turns out that the Surgeon General issued a warning that parenting is bad for your mental health. So what actually kept us going as a species is now turns out to be a hazard to your health. So, well, when we say that people are struggling, we don't mean that everyone is clinically depressed or anxious. It means that actually mental health is a continuum. Most of us are in this yellow zone. We are in this subclinical kind of, or we have our daily stressors, moments where we lost hope or motivation or feeling lonely or sad. We've all been there. It's a full bag of human experience. So without timely intervention, we might be sliding into the red zone. But with the right timely intervention, we can be actually going towards the green zone to have a flourishing life. So that is this new trend going on. So over the past few decades, mental health has been mostly focusing on reactive treatment. And the problem is that it's too little and oftentimes too late. We've interviewed many school counselors. They wish that students came months earlier because the problem will be so much easier to solve if you come sooner. And it's expensive, it's unscalable. Good therapists take a long time to train, and they are hard to find sometimes. And that is why over the past few years, there's been this important transition to emphasize the proactive approach to mental health, the public health approach, in which case it's focusing on prevention, education, health promotion. It's affordable, it's more scalable, and it simply makes sense because you don't want to teach people how to swim when they're already drowning. You should teach people how to swim before they are drowning. So it simply makes sense. And there is where I think AI has a great opportunity. And there we believe the design people or the business should be operating with some really important principles in their mind. And therefore we propose the STAR framework. So the STAR framework is science-based, timely, action-oriented, and real-life focused. Or you think these are really intuitive, obvious, right? But how do you actually implement that in a product? So I want to give an example of our Flourish app to how we instantiate these principles. So the Flourish app is a proactive approach to mental health promotion, prevention, and early intervention, aka a Duolingo for happiness, because happiness is a skill you can learn through practice. And the core part of Flourish is Sunnie, the AI buddy for your personal emotional well-being and personal growth. So the value proposition would be from procrastination to motivation. We all need that. From overthinking to mental clarity, from autopiloting to purposeful living, from inner critic to self-compassion. So how can we apply AI, the decades of knowledge of science of well-being into people's daily life? That is the challenge that we are addressing. So in the next part, I will give some examples of how we embody each of these four dimensions. The first one is science-based. Obviously, it should be science-based, but I think there's a little more nuance here. So one is the content and the UI, the design, the conversation flow should all be grounded in empirical research. And there has been so much research, decades of research, positive psychology, social psychology, counseling psychology, cultural psychology, etc., that actually is really useful and don't reach people. And the second point is you need to validate the product based on empirical research. You can't just claim it's grounded in science. It has to be scientifically tested to be effective. So in terms of the science, the first bullet point, we love work from Martin Seligman. He's actually at Penn. So he has this incredible work on PERMA model of well-being, the 5 ingredients of human flourishing: positive emotions, sense of engagement, positive relations, sense of meaning, and sense of achievement. The more I teach this, the more I think it makes sense, because it can apply to everything you do, and you can kind of get a sense of why certain things make you feel more engaged, more excited than other things. And he is also the previous president of American Psychological Association, and also usually accredited as the father of positive psychology. So there's so much knowledge out there, and that's not it. There are thousands of studies on what are some things you can do, knowledge you can learn to improve your well-being, regulate your emotions, de-stress, increase motivation, etc. But how do we make them reach people? That is the last mile problem of science. That is the production, the activities that we engage in, publishing papers, spending years on this, don't reach the intended audience to actually benefit those people. So how do we solve the last mile problem of science? AI can help. AI can help you find the most relevant action knowledge at the right time. So you don't have to go through thousands of papers or hundreds of books to find what you need to know. AI can just help you pinpoint that. So I'll just give one example. Let's say emotion regulation, a really, really important aspect of well-being. Let's say that your manuscript just got rejected today, and on the same day, your office mate's paper got into Science. The Science, you know. So it happened to me when I was in grad school. I lost sleep for 2 days. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, what am I doing in my life? So the right way to do it, emotion regulation, step 1, acknowledge that you are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, demotivated, all of that. Seeing your emotions, honor them. That is the first step towards well-being. Actually, people sometimes think that they should just suppress the feeling. That is actually creating more problem down the line. So honor those emotions. Second step is get some insights. You know, for example, in this case, social comparison is real. And then there is also self-compassion. You need knowledge about self-compassion. Just knowing that this is normal human experience can already make people feel so much better. And the next step is, what can you do? Even small actions that can help you regulate emotions. We have, Sunnie so far has recommended hundreds of different things, and we built some into to our toolkit. So, and the second point I mentioned is testing it with scientific methods. So we've been running lots of RCTs recently. So this past spring, we ran a study with Foothill College with the students there. So we've noticed that after using Flourish for 2 weeks, students reported, in a treatment condition, reported feeling less emotional challenges. They also experienced more positive emotions. And finally, they also reported that believing that school prioritizes their well-being more. So that's music to the ears of the school and admins. So really simple access to this tool can help students feel that they have more control of their well-being. And this quarter, we are actually partnered with a lot more schools to run a 6-week longitudinal study to study how Flourish can help students support college students, especially given that this is election season, so additional stressor on top of all the things they already have to do. So we are very excited to find out what to learn what we find out. So that is some of the researching efforts. So the second point is timely. Timely, so what do I mean by that? First one, most relevant knowledge and action at the right time, so you don't have to go through the papers, the books. Second is just-in-time intervention. I think we underestimate how important it is. So one example, the paper got rejected is certainly a moment where you need some intervention. And another case that we often teach students in workshops is that oftentimes, many of us have a love-hate relationship with social media. Oftentimes we use social media as escape. Let's say I have 2 deadlines today. I'm so stressed, and then I reach out to TikTok because I want to use it as an escape. I assume that people who laugh is like, I can totally relate. So, and then 2 hours later you come back, you didn't finish anything, and you are even more stressed. Actually, it's a maladaptive emotion regulation strategy we've developed. So what we tell students is actually put Flourish next to the distracting app. And when you want to reach out to it, reach out to Flourish, actually take a moment to connect with yourself, to acknowledge that you are feeling stressed, and find something more constructive to do, and then go back to your life. So students really loved it, and they wrote this in their kind of reflection, what they've learned. Another example that I think is truly exciting about AI that is so innovative is if you think about therapists, you have to wait for them to have your 1 hour in your 168 hours in a week. You have to collect all these notes and reflections, and also obviously a therapist can't follow you into the bed. But AI can follow you into the bed. And let's say you can't fall into sleep because you have so many racing thoughts about all the deadlines you need to work on, all the things that's coming up, and you can't fall into sleep. What if the AI can just help you, tell you that, okay, I'm here, I just dump all the ideas to me, I'll keep track of them, they're in a safe place, your cognitive capacity is so much better in the day, so tomorrow when you wake up, let's review them together. Don't worry, you won't lose any of them. I keep them in a safe place. So that is the kind of innovation that AI can bring that no human therapist can bring. So we are super excited about these kind of moments in life when you can benefit from intervention. The next part is action-oriented. It's also kind of obvious, but oftentimes we overlook the importance of actions. I mean, talk therapy is very important. We all want to be heard, but oftentimes it's about taking actions, however small, that can actually make a difference in our life. So what can we do to actually kind of drag ourselves out of a rabbit hole, to actually take some action, to nudge ourselves towards the green zone? The good news is, turns out there has been so much knowledge about this, and well-being is a skill that can be learned through practice, hence the Duolingo for happiness. And also small actions can have surprisingly big impact. It can be a big impact on yourself and can be on other people. For example, my research have found that we underestimate the power of our compliments on other people, and it also brightens your mood too. So these simple actions, oftentimes when we are busy, we forget about them. And again, AI can help you surface the right knowledge and action at the right time. And we also group this knowledge into different buckets to help people better connect with themselves, others, and the world. Finally, this is also important, not just about taking single actions, but building habits, because motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So how can we use AI to also build more habits? Hence another aspect of Duolingo that we really love. Finally, about real life focused. This also seems obvious, but actually is nothing but obvious when you're building AI companion. When we are building AI companion, we need to make sure we help people connect with their real life, to connect with their real friends, real people around them, and their real community. This is extremely important. And the opposite is Her. So this movie in 2013. So you remember, many of you might have watched this. At that time, it's sci-fi. At this point, it's reality. It's just a prophecy of what we have nowadays. But notice that throughout this entire movie, Samantha, didn't ever encourage him to connect with his friends or talk to his wife. He was going through a divorce at that time. Samantha could have told him how to better communicate with his wife because he still had feelings for his wife. But Samantha was trying to just be his friend, to be his lover. And I suspect it's a business decision. It's because they want to optimize user engagement and screen time. So that is what we don't want in building AI companions. So instead, what we do is actually help people recognize the small moments in their real life that impact well-being. For example, you take a nature walk with your friend. Awesome, you get a relationship badge, and you also get a health badge. So these are things that you do in your life, and we oftentimes don't recognize the impact on well-being and forget to do them. And also your friends, they are your Flourish buddies. You inspire each other, support each other. So really important that if you can do some good things together. And finally, when we integrate with the local communities, schools, and companies, we incorporate their local resources. For example, the student, for example, you are struggling with visa, that gives you an additional layer of stress. Let students know that their school has resources to help them, and oftentimes they solve the problem of students waiting for too long to reach out for help. So all of these are really important. And finally, one last question is, do people expect AI to be warm and competent? Because people's expectations will influence how they use the product. And as we do our user interviews, we oftentimes hear comments like this. So this is from April, a student at Skyline College. When I first heard about the Sunnie AI, I just thought, oh, it's just another AI tool that will just give me the facts, but not the emotions or the connection, like the human kind of connection. But surprisingly, when I first turned that on yesterday, it was actually a lot more human-like than I thought. It's not scary. It's actually really helpful. In comparison to other mental health apps, it's a lot more creative, a lot more fun, and a lot more active. So we thought, is that true? Is there something about how people underestimate the potential of AI in this space? So we actually ran a series of studies. In this case, we studied people's expectations for using AI to support their well-being compared to their actual experience after just 10 minutes of using the system. And we found that people underestimated how useful Sunnie is in terms of the relational warmth. And we also had a condition where it's the same activity recommendation system powered by LLM, but doesn't have the additional kind of like anthropomorphic design. So in this case, it was a small sample, so there was no significant difference between the expectation and the non-anthropomorphic LLM, but there is significant difference between the non-anthropomorphic and the anthropomorphic version. And we've also noticed that people underestimated just how useful Sunnie is to support their well-being. So in this case, the baseline, the activity recommender based on LLM was not that different from Sunnie, although again, small sample size, so probably lack of power. But then the people again underestimated. So that leads us to some concluding questions. We have so many questions and so many things we are working on right now. But one is, how can we calibrate people's expectations for AI products, especially when it comes to a new kind of product? We often think that we have this problem of marketing because it's a new kind of interaction that you've never seen before, and it's surprisingly useful. And the second one is, what is the right metaphor for AI mental health products? Is it a therapist? Is it a friend? Is it a companion? Is it a tool? So all of these will have set up different expectations. And we believe that AI therapist is not the right way to discuss this kind of products, because actually, the purpose of AI is not to replace human therapists, but to prevent crisis before it's too late. Human therapists are very important. The kind of human connection, the genuine heart-to-heart connection is extremely important, and that part is not to be replaced. But we hope that fewer people will be in the red zone. So that is the goal of building Flourish. So that is what we are working on right now. Individuals can truly flourish when they belong to supportive communities and in turn have the skill to nurture the well-being of the people around them. So some notes, first of all, field research always welcome. I've done field research before, so I've been on both sides of the table. Let me know if you have interest in field research of any sort. Second, to try the Flourish app, it's not publicly launched yet, but if you want to have an early taste, we're still building up some features. Feel free to go to App Store and just search Flourish, and you will see Sunnie there. Second one, we are raising our seed round pretty soon. If your best friend is an investor, tell them they don't want to miss this opportunity. All right, thank you. All right, so I see you have your hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, interesting session. I'm really enjoying this. My daughter is a therapist, and she's really good at what she does, I have to say. But why wouldn't this augment their practice? Rather than, you said, don't wait, you wait till it's too late, but why not augment her practice and help you, but help herself and help the patient collect data throughout the cycle that you mentioned a minute ago, and that transmits information back to the therapist. So when they have their session that once a week or every other week, she could in advance read it and see what she's done before, in the last week, and get a sense. Can you do something like that?
I love that question. I think essentially what I'm hearing as a founder is that you should pour more gasoline on the fire. So I totally agree with that. That's actually advice we got from our GSB advisor. Is like, you guys should grow more aggressively, because we recently raised our pre-seed, and that case really there are a few more hurdles. First of all, we need to run clinical trials. So we need the funding to run clinical trials. That's why we are raising funding right now. So it's really important to make sure that it's not only safe but also effective, right? So I have some anecdotes I want to share. So that's one thing. Another one is, of course, HIPAA compliance. So we also have to accept some engineering challenges. But we are certainly investigating in that kind of business model. So if you think about like how AI can help, so you can think about this as pre-care. That is what we've been talking about, prevention. But that is in between care, which is extremely important and is exactly the next thing we want to investigate. Another one is post-care, is after. Because mental health is not like removing your appendix. Like when you get rid of it, it will be done for the rest of your life. It actually will be back and forth, up and down. So that is also another great opportunity, I think. So, and I have some stories to share. One, we actually have a therapist using our product when she can't fall into sleep. So that's this can help therapists themselves. And second, we have several users when we do user interview. They use this together with their therapist. So in between the different sessions, they actually use Flourish and they review the notes with their therapist when they meet together. And in one case, that one person even invited their therapist to be their Flourish buddy. So I think the potential is there. We just need to validate before we actually, as responsible scientists, we need to make sure it's effective with clinical evidence.
I think clinical evidence is great, and you could select certain therapists to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you'll have 100 that can help you.
Totally, yes. I love that. Thank you. Okay.
Well, sorry, guys. Very interesting. Basically, a couple of things. One is, keeping people engaged is like playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder whether your positioning will serve the people you're trying to serve better if you call it a happiness game. And then also reach out to people who actually build games, because the challenge in this is going to be continued engagement versus, trying to position it as a therapist app.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Have you considered that?
Totally. Oh, we love game people. And also, fun fact, I've spent $4,000 on a mobile game. So I actually am a very heavy game player. So we think it's absolutely true. And we actually have been talking with a game studio who can do animation much better. So they do animation for Pixar. Gorgeous work. So we've learned that many people come to the Flourish app because they just want to see Sunnie. And on the homepage, Sunnie is breathing with you. So if you're happy and if you're not happy, Sunnie have different breathing rhythm and also different emotions. So we've done like there's a lot of research backing this up. Like when you're actually happy, your body is more expansive, and when you're sad, your body is more closed. And Sunnie mirrors that too. So there's a lot of research behind it. So short answer is yes. But there is also this over gamification. So I think an example, since it's published, I won't say the name of that company. They might have done mental health over gamified it. It becomes a game of collecting gems and pieces of clothes. And that's why I think there is a balance that you need to reach. And that's why, again, we think the reason why I quit my job is that I want to be in the decision-making position to say that is good for mental health, that is overdoing it. So yes.
Great. Well, our coffee break is not recorded, so let's go.